political pillar represented by Jonathan, a number of parties and independents. Some of them are here with us today. And the community pillar may represent just one of hundreds of community groups all over Ireland who've been campaigning the right to water. And the reason why we're calling this demonstration is because the abolition of these charges, which will happen, the permanent abolition of them, which will happen, should not and is not a matter of political opportunism. It's a matter of human rights. It's a matter of vindicating the United Nations declaration that water is a human right, and the words of Maud Barlow, the most prominent water campaigner in the world, who spearheaded that United Nations campaign to have water declared a human right, that our method of paying for water here in Ireland, through progressive general taxation, is, in her words, an exemplary model which should be followed the world over, which leads to zero water, fuel poverty, to homeless poverty, to deprivation. The fact that we have zero water poverty through a progressive model of paying for water and sanitation is something we should be screaming and proud of from the rooftops. And this campaign, represented by trade unions, political groupings and individuals and community groups, will make sure, having started the debate, so it's sometimes hard to reflect. You know, when this debate started in the summer of 2014, we had had 6 years of austerity. Water charges were coming in, meters were coming in, nobody was asked. If you didn't like it, it was being turned down to a trickle. We have your PPS numbers as well, thanks very much. And the commodification and the privatisation of your water is now in train. Do what you're told, like good little boys and girls, so we can boast to our friends in the European Union about how compliant the Irish population are. And since then, the Irish population have mobilised around this issue and other issues since, but this specific issue we're dealing with today, and have shown the political establishment who thought they could do that to us, that actually sovereignty resides with the people of Ireland. The democratic will of the people is to abolish them, and we are sure that democratic will once again be expressed on the streets of this wonderful city on the 8th of April. Okay, any questions?
Where do you stand on the issue of excessive use?
Well, look, on the issue of excessive use, first of all, I'll make a couple of general comments in relation to water and sanitation. We conduct in this country a debate on water and sanitation as if water and sanitation is used by domestic households alone. The international evidence from the United Nations and the European Union is that only 10% of water and sanitation is used by domestic households. And while there's no specific evidence or research in Ireland, there's no specific evidence or research to say it's any different either. What we do know is the Oireachtas Committee has been prohibited by the terms of reference from discussing the full breadth of the Water Framework Directive in relation to how food, agriculture and industry use water. So if we're talking about waste, we need to talk about how all of the waste is captured in terms of all of our water and sanitation, and get away from this fetish we have of discussing this issue as if it applies to householders only. In terms of householders only, the report of the Expert Commission found we have more water than peer countries. We use less water than peer countries. In fact, we use 20% less water, evidence first advanced by the Right2Water campaign, mocked it at the time, but then accepted in full by the Expert Commission following its research. 20% less water in this country than in the UK, where meters and privatisation have been a feature since 1989. It finds no material waste. And obviously Right2Water, every human being I think, is opposed to industry, to farms, to the food industry, or to any household who is reckless with their water. We don't believe that is the case, we don't believe that is materially the case, and we believe the actual waste, if waste is the subject point we're discussing here, the actual waste is the waste of €1 billion of scarce taxpayers' money on meters, consultants, legal advisors, and a quango which is not necessary. Money spent on something money we don't have spent on something we don't need. So, you know, I'm aware of this issue. I find it quite amusing, actually. I looked at a joint Oireachtas debate from a different country a couple of weeks ago. I was unable to attend. If people want me or anybody else to say we're in favour of people wasting water, they're going to be sorely disappointed. Of course we're not in favour of people wasting water. We don't believe there is material waste. We welcome the findings of the expert commission in that regard. And we believe education is the key to sustainability. And we do note, by the way, that a lot of those who want to discuss waste are very, very slow to bring forward proposals in relation to sustainable energy and sustainable water use. And that's not the case at the moment, I suppose, with the debates moving on a bit. We looked at something published a few weeks ago in the Irish Times by the Commission of Energy Regulation. So we don't think there is material waste. The only waste there has been is the waste of €1 billion of citizens' money, taxpayers' money, which should have been put into leaks. 47% of the water is wasting into the ground before it gets to our shores or to our taps. That's the waste. And the idea, as the Commission of Energy Regulation have also said, that we would use money to target, if they exist at all, a tiny number of individuals, water that badly needs to be put into addressing the leaks. Can I give you an analogy? We believe, and we've submitted to the committee, that it would cost about 300 million a year to continue with the rollout of the metering programme. And people think you put the meters into the ground and forget about them. You don't. You have to maintain them, you have to read them, and their lifespan is 5 to 10 years. Some of the 57% that are in the ground are in there 3 years. They'll be coming up for renewal soon. And the idea that you would spend 300 million a year chasing maximum 30 million a year in terms of domestic waste, while not having a discussion about commercial, agriculture, industrial and food use of water, is a little bit like Dragon's Den. Can you imagine going on to Dragon's Den saying, I want you to invest 300 million euro in something that will recoup 30 million euro? I don't think you'd be there long. I think you'd be given the bum brush. I think it'd be one of those little episodes where you see one or two people saying, well, you're off the stage now, and they cut to a break. But the citizens of Ireland, the taxpayers of Ireland, are supposed to play along with this facade. Well, no more. It's highly insulting to talk to the citizens of Ireland, as they are described on the front page of one newspaper today, as wasters. It's absolutely insulting and denigrating to describe and discuss the citizens of Ireland without any evidence in those terms. And we think the media should join with us and have a proper debate about this at long last. Anybody else?
Brendan, just to be clear, hiya. So,
could you give your name and where you're from, please?
Excuse me, yeah, Marie Mulcahy, TV3.
Hi, Marie.
Hiya, sorry. To be clear then, you're not in favour of charging for proven excessive usage of water?
In terms of the debate, a lot of the debate is conducted around this idea that people are leaving taps all over the place and filling up their swimming pools. You know, because we've loads of swimming pools, haven't we? I heard the Minister for Water and Housing on radio 10 days ago talking about all the swimming pools. Oh, these people think people can just fill up their swimming pools. But let's have a swimming pool tax. I'll give Simon Coveney a commitment today that if he enacts a swimming pool tax, we will not start a campaign against the swimming pool tax. We will not call the people in Ireland onto the streets. We will not call support or in any way advocate non-payment, civil disobedience or sending the bills back for a swimming pool tax. So if the issue is swimming pools, let's have a swimming pool tax. So that's that one taken care of. In relation to waste, what the real issue, Marie, to be fair to you and everybody else in the room, is meters. How do you measure what the expert commission don't find, i.e. widespread waste? In fact, they don't find any material waste at all. How do you measure it without spending hundreds of millions of euro a year on meters? You can't. Obviously, the debate in the Joint Committee has moved into the space of district metering. And we're not opposed to district metering. Right2Water are not opposed to district metering. We've discussed this with the political pillar, we've discussed it with the community pillar, we've had a lot of discussions and briefings on this. But the idea that the hardware of water privatisation, a meter in everybody's house, let's be honest and call it what it is. It's the hardware of water privatisation. Will be put into people's houses using a Trojan horse of waste that is not ascribed in the report. And insofar as it does talk about waste, it links it to leaks. In order to target, a very small number of individuals is to install. And by the way, we won't be looking at the other 90, or even if it's 80. Even if Irish consumers use twice as much water, which there's no evidence for, as the rest of the world, still industry and agriculture use 5 times as much. That would be 20%, and they use 80%. There's no evidence of that, by the way. I think we're at the world average, or thereabouts, and until somebody produces evidence, I'm going to continue to say that. So if you're wasting water, if you're a factory, if you're a farmer, if you're a food producer, or if you're a householder, stop it. And if you're a government, stop wasting money we need to fix leaks on putting in meters in people's houses and lying to them that it's about conservation. It's not about conservation, it's about privatisation. Stop it.
If we fix the 47%, and remember that 47% of treated water, we'd say round it up. Seems that's what they're doing with all the money, they're rounding it up. Say 50% of our water is leaking between the mains and the few leaks that are between houses. If we stop the 47%, we are saving 47% of the cost of treating water. That money could be put back into fixing the pipes. I mean, it makes common sense, and it's nonsensical what they're talking about. If I ran my home the way the government are running Irish Water and putting the money into it, I would be on the street long ago. This does not make any economic sense whatsoever, and you don't have to be an economist to know that. You only have to balance a budget, which I do every week of the year and have been doing for the last 40 years. And I know that if I allow a tap run in my house, it's going to cost me more in the long run. If I allow a leak from a toilet in my house, it's not just going to be the leak that's going to be damaged, it's going to be floors, it's going to come through the ceiling. So nobody that I know with any common sense would allow that happen in the home. You would get your leak fixed straight away. But this government seems to think that it's worth paying 500 million to get, 3% of leaks that's between Stopcock and the house, against fixing pipes that's leaking 47%. I mean, come on. We're all in this room, we're not stupid. We know the agenda is privatisation. And you're talking about paying for excess water use. That is just the back door into privatisation, because if they want to get it off the balance sheet, they have to get 51% of the cost. Am I right on that? I think my figures are right on that. They have to get 51% of the cost to go off balance sheet, which means they still have to get that figure on the excess water. So what price is each litre going to cost on the excess water? I mean, this government really are so arrogant. They think that the people of Ireland are stupid. They really think we're stupid, and they've treated us as such. And their arrogance in the Dáil is unreal. And I'm saying to them, for the people of Ireland, we are not stupid, we're far from stupid, and we are not allowing you to privatise our water, and we are not going to put up with this. They can kick it down the road as long as they can, but we are going to be there on their heels, pushing and pushing till we get what the people of Ireland voted for, and that's the abolition of water charges forever. The best way to pay for everybody is through general taxation. And all we need for them to do is do what they were told to do in the election, listen to the people for once in their life and do what they were asked to do and vote on this. We don't need any more blooming committees or talks or anything, and we certainly don't need Fianna Fáil Fingale going into a back room doing another deal that nobody ever voted for.
The idea, sorry Johnny, go ahead.
I was saying, there is no evidence which has been presented to the committee which suggests that there is excessive wastage of water by householders. I think that's very important because the whole debate on the issue of excessive usage is a red herring in my opinion. The real debate should be around the 47% of water which is wasted through a lack of investment in the infrastructure, and the evidence which comes before the committee to take Scottish Water, where there is not a metering programme in place. They have actually reduced the amount of water which is being wasted through general leakage without having to put in metering programme. There is no doubt that Fine Gael want a metering programme, to the continuation of it, because they're ideologically driven towards privatisation, and that is the only rationale for the metering programme which has been put forward. There is no evidence to suggest that there is any wastage of water by householders, and the whole debate is actually deflecting from the real issue, which is the lack of investment in the infrastructure, and 47% of water which is actually wasted before it even reaches households.
Just make a quick point on that as well. The other thing is, why don't they bring in a real conservation grant? A genuine conservation grant to encourage people to put in water harvesting technology into their homes. I mean, we had a bogus water conservation grant that had absolutely nothing to do with water conservation. Why not actually bring in a genuine water conservation grant? And I think you'd get a fantastic take-up for that. I mean, notwithstanding the points that there is no evidence of excessive household use, we won't be protesting either if they bring in a genuine conservation grant to encourage people to put in dual flush systems, water harvesting equipment. That would be a genuine measure, but actually all the arguments about excessive usage and conservation have been hypocrisy from the word go. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
And I actually know from my area that the majority of people in my area all have water box outside. We've done that ourselves. The Irish people aren't wasteful people. We're recycling without being punished for it, and then they come in with an idea that, oh well, we have to pay for our recycling. Well, I know in a supermarket, I'm not naming the name because it wouldn't do, every 6 months the water butts come in, and people are there and they're gone within 2 hours. So the people of Ireland are actually doing it for themselves. They're not waiting on the government. The government is way behind the people of Ireland. The people of Ireland are way ahead of the government.
Any other questions?
The issue of a referendum on privatisation, where do you stand on that?
Well, we believe that our public water and sanitation system should, the management and ownership of our public water and sanitation system should be protected in the Constitution. Right2Water are the only group that published a specific wording and enumeration for a constitutional referendum on that matter. That has manifested itself in a Dáil bill which has been passed and is in the second stage of committee. We see absolutely no reason you won't find a politician to say they're in favour of water privatisation. So we see absolutely no reason why the delaying of that bill should continue or should take any longer time than the lifetime of this government. And you know, we've been saying for 3 years now that a constitutional referendum on that will cut to the core of this debate. If it's not about water privatisation and commodification, put the constitutional referendum in the simple terms which were brought forward by senior counsel through Right2Water, have been passed in the Dáil in the second committee stage, to the people of Ireland. And let's be done with this debate. So we support it wholeheartedly. That's why we commissioned the wording. That's why it's got to its very advanced stage now in the Oireachtas. And I think that reflects, given the Right2Water commissioned the wording, how the people in this country are ahead of the political establishment in this debate. I have sat down at meetings for the last 3 years in halls all over the country and had debates about this issue, which are at a higher level in terms of information, in terms of research, done in many cases by people in communities themselves, than some of what I see being discussed in the Oireachtas Committee or indeed in the Dáil. So let's have a situation, if we're talking about new politics, and we hear a lot about new politics, which seems to be very much like old politics, with a new wrapper. If we're talking about new politics, could we have a new situation where the people in the Dáil do what the people want them to do for a change? That would be new politics. Where the democratic will of the people as expressed in the 2016 election. And if we're wrong about that, and I hear people popping up on radios, talk shows and whatever saying, no, we don't accept that. You know, people from Fine Gael generally, we don't accept that that's what the people said in 2016. Okay. Well, let's have a report of the committee, put into the Dáil, and put it to a vote. What's the delaying for them? So I think, you know, I was in the States in recent weeks, and while this debate was going on in the committee, and I was unable to attend the committee, and people were, well, what do you really want in general? Could we have an honest debate with this, please? An honest and informed debate. When we talk about water and sanitation, could we stop pretending that it's all about households? That'd be a good start. Could we stop pretending that it's not been privatised all over the world and that we're somehow different, we're somehow divorced from that? So it's been privatised all over the world, but they'd never try that here, wouldn't they not, lads? Could we stop pretending that? Could we stop pretending that water as an asset class in the world today is the most profitable asset class there is apart from financial instruments? Could we stop pretending that that's not the case? Could we stop pretending that we've got householders with swimming pools hidden in their attics, leaving taps all over? I hear educated politicians who've gone before the electorate and got votes talking about people putting on the taps and going off on holidays for 3 months. Could we get real? The people of Ireland have got real. We've got real on this issue a couple of years ago. And I think they'll get real again on the 8th of April. And, you know, I'd appeal to our friends and colleagues in the media to enable a debate that is a bit above the adolescent level of a front page headline describing the Irish citizens as water wasters. Are we 12-year-olds now, are we? Can we just have a real debate with this, please?
Could I just say too, every time we have this debate, it's about Irish people who want to pay for water. The fact is that Irish people pay for water. We pay for it through our taxation. That's how we want it, and that's the way we want it to stay. Instead of having this debate of saying Irish people want water free, we paid for the infrastructure that went in there. We paid for everything that works to get the water clean. That's paid for by the people of Ireland. It wasn't the Martians, and it wasn't anybody else, and it certainly wasn't Europe that came over and said, there you are, you can have all that free. We paid for it. My father and mother paid for it. And the next generation. And when they talk about taxpayers, Vincent Brown's great, he hates the word. We're all taxpayers. Even our children are paying taxes in this country. It's called VAT. And every time a child buys a sweet, they're paying taxes. We all pay taxes. So let's get this debate real and stop blaming, saying to the PAYE worker, you're paying for everything, and the person who is unemployed isn't paying for anything, because they pay their VAT like everybody else. And in fact, the Nevin Institute did research on it and proved that those on the lower pay more on percentage of their earnings in tax than the wealthiest.
I have in front of me a letter which was published in the last few days from Maud Barlow, the National Chairperson of the Council of Canadians and founder of the Blue Planet Project, woman who spearheaded the international campaign to get the UN, which was a difficult campaign, went on for 15 years, to declare water a human right. She's written, I think it's 5 books on the issue. And I have also in front of me a letter from Winona Houter, the Executive Director of Food and Water Watch. I have in here a submission to the expert committee from the European Water Movement. And these have all been released in the last few days to the press. I haven't read about it, lads. Haven't seen it. I put on the radio every evening in the car going home from work, looking forward to the discussion of the fact that an international intellectual colossus has written reports, come to Ireland twice, and written to all our TDs and senators on this issue. And I look forward to the journalist putting the questions that she has and the points that she has to make to our elected representatives. I don't hear it. I hear about water wasters. Then I go to sleep and I think that was a bad day. I pick up the paper tomorrow and we'll be reading about Maud, the international intellectual colossus of the water movement, on the front page of our national newspaper, and I look and I go to buy a newspaper and I see the water wasters. I say, I'm not buying that. So there's a huge weight of international evidence, and where we look at the world in our introverted Irish way, we look at the world out there and we say, what are they all doing out there? We should be copying them. Stick your chest out, because the world is looking at us. For everything we've gotten wrong in the last number of years, in fact, for a century, for everything we've gotten wrong, the world is looking at us as having the exemplary model. Progressive general taxation, with no waste on meters, no waste on consultants, no waste on quangos, no waste on solicitors, none of your off-sheet, on-sheet nonsense. Just citizens and taxpayers' money put into water and sanitation, so we never arrive at a situation where a child needs to be fed and isn't, because their mum and dad hasn't enough money. Or well, we have to look for volunteer groups, as to do in the United States. So I think we should listen to them, to bring buckets of water into whole communities so people can be fed and washed. The world is looking at us as the exemplary way to avoid all of that. So for everything else we've got wrong, could we not just embrace that? Keep it. And imagine what that €1 billion that was wasted on Irish water could do if it was invested in fixing leaks, in education, in actual sustainable water and sanitation use. And as the expert report points out, if people voluntarily want a meter, they should have it. It should be optional. And it should be incentivised, as the CER pointed out in an interview carried in the Irish Times on the 11th of January, as the CER pointed out. It should be incentivised in terms of tax credits. That's a real debate. Not the juvenile debate we've had in certain areas for the last 3 years. Any other questions?
Brendan, just a bit more about the demonstration. Why now? Who do you want it? Where is it taking place? And your key message this time?
Our key message is one last push. It's the people that did this, not political opportunists. I have to say though, I was asked by one of the journalistic colleagues last Friday, I won't name her because she's not here, I was asked by her, what do I have to say about Fianna Fáil's hypocrisy on this issue? And you know, I don't look at it like that, and I don't think Right2Water look at it like that. Winning somebody round to your point of view isn't a demonstration of hypocrisy, it's a demonstration of enlightenment. And the fact is, the fact that we have started from a position where this was just happening automatically to a position where we're just one little push on the demonstration, I think that's going to be the key to that, away from the people's will actually being expressed in that democratic chamber over the road. Is fantastic. It's going to be one single event, so it's not one of those where we have local events. It'll be in Dublin City Centre. Dublin City Centre is in a state, I'll be polite, of rebuilding. Some call it disrepair. I call it rebuilding. We've got tram tracks going down, which will be great eventually. So finding a place to put tens of thousands of people, and there's never been a Right2Water demonstration where there hasn't been tens of thousands of people. We can argue about how many tens, but there's always been tens of thousands of people. You know, we'll have another press conference closer to the time. The last one we had was on Stephen's Green South. I don't know if we go there again. We'll see. It'll be Dublin City Centre on the 8th of April. We talk to the community groups, probably assembling in Euston Station and Connolly Station, meeting in a central location. It'll be the usual family-friendly, peaceful day, usually for 2 hours. A mix of presentations, political discussion, music, poetry, fun day out that everybody should come to. And, you know, if our new fans in Fianna Fáil, who started to adopt the Right2Water language, wanted to come along and join the fun and frolics of the day and go in and book water charges away the following weekend at all, that'd be great news. Is that okay, guys? Thank you very much for coming. Thank you all.